The movie begins in a lush green forest where a group of poachers capture several chimpanzees for animal testing. The scene then shifts to Genesis, a leading biotech company focused on genetic treatments. Will Rodman, a pharmaceutical chemist at the company, tests his new viral-based drug ALZ-112 on chimpanzees. He is hoping to find a cure for Alzheimer's. This drug is given to a female chimp named Bright Eyes, who impressively solves a puzzle in just 20 moves. Excited by the success of his experiment, Will rushes to his supervisor, Jacobs. He emphasizes that after nearly 5 years of dedicated work on the drug, he now has ample data to advance to human testing. Jacobs is also ecstatic by the news, so he allows Will to present his findings to the board for approval. The following day, Will delivers a presentation on his research regarding ALZ-112. He outlines the drug as a gene therapy that allows the brain to generate new cells for self-repair. This could be a promising cure for Alzheimer's disease. Its only side effect is the appearance of harmless green flecks in the eyes. Will assures the board members that they will have the opportunity to witness the remarkable intelligence of the chimpanzee involved in their research. Elsewhere, a caretaker approaches Bright Eyes in her cage to prepare her for the presentation, but she suddenly becomes aggressive and attacks him. This prompts another caretaker named Franklin to arrive at the scene. The two then cautiously try to lure her out of the cage using a control pole. However, this only irritates Bright Eyes more, and she manages to run out of the cage. She then runs wild throughout the facility before smashing through the glass window of the conference room. The board members are shocked to see her in this state, but before Will can react, the poor ape is shot and killed. In the aftermath, the board of directors reject Will's proposal to move forward with human trials. Jacobs believes that Bright Eyes' aggression was a result of the drug's side effects, so he orders all the remaining chimps to be euthanized. Franklin pleads with him not to do so, but the boss refuses as he only cares about business. Later on, Franklin shows Will a newborn male chimp he found inside Bright Eyes' cage. This makes them realize that she was simply being protective of her child. Franklin says he doesn't have the courage to put down the little baby, so he asks Will to take care of him. The latter is initially hesitant to bear such a big responsibility, but upon some insisting, he agrees. Will then takes the baby home and introduces him to his father, Charles. They quickly grow fond of him and name him Caesar. It is then revealed that Charles is suffering from Alzheimer's and requires constant supervision. He is the main reason why Will is desperate to find a cure for the disease. "It's okay, Dad. This monkey's gonna solve everything. Aren't you, Caesar?"
Aren't you canceled?
The next day in the kitchen, Caesar shockingly takes the milk bottle and feeds himself. This leaves both the father and son surprised, considering the chimp is only 2 days old. Will then decides to work remotely in order to care for both his father and the baby chimp. He also begins renovating the house so that the primate can move freely. After a few days of hard work, an entire room is designed for Caesar, consisting of platforms, ropes, and climbing structures, as well as a hidden stash of Playboy. Over time, he begins to display remarkable signs of intelligence. Will teaches him to sign language and regularly records his progress. By the age of 2, Caesar impressively solves puzzles designed for children aged 8. As he turns 3, his cognitive abilities exceed those of children his age. Will speculates that Caesar inherited the ALZ-112 gene from his mother, as his eyes also have the same green flecks. Meanwhile, Charles's health deteriorates with each passing day as his Alzheimer's worsens. Unable to see him suffer, Will steals some vials of the ALZ-112 drug from Genesis. He then administers a dose to his father, hoping it will ease his suffering, even if it also makes him start flinging poo. Surprisingly, the next day, Charles appears to be reinvigorated, and he is playing the piano perfectly. The sight makes Will very emotional, as his drug has finally worked on humans. Meanwhile, Caesar gets jealous when he spots the neighboring kids playing outside freely. When no one is watching, he slips out through an open window to join them. Unfortunately, one of the girls spots him and becomes visibly frightened. Her angry father, Hunsicker, then arrives with a baseball bat and starts attacking Caesar. The poor primate can only scream for help, as he is too young to defend himself. But Will arrives in the nick of time and saves him from any serious harm. He then takes Caesar to the zoo, where the vet, Caroline, tends to his wounds. She is amazed by Caesar's intelligence as he communicates through sign language. He even signs that Will should take Caroline out for dinner, making them both laugh. Caesar then signs that they should buy themselves a rope swing and go to Bone Town, and Will says, now, I'm already in enough trouble for such things. The following day, Caroline visits their home and is impressed by the environment that Will has created. However, she reminds him that Caesar will eventually grow into a large powerful animal with potential danger. She then suggests taking him to an open space for a change of scenery. Will likes the idea, so he drives all of them across the Golden Gate Bridge to the redwood forest. As soon as they reach there, Caesar starts climbing the trees, something which he is doing for the first time. He thoroughly enjoys the experience, and the humans also seem to be happy for him. The scene then shifts to 5 years later. Caesar has grown into an adult chimpanzee and has started to question his place in the world. One day, while returning from the redwood forest, Will senses that something is troubling Caesar and asks him about it. The latter desires to know about his parents, so Will drives him to Genesis. He then truthfully reveals that Caesar's mother had been given a medicine that enhanced her intelligence, which was then passed on to him. Tragically, she died due to a mishap, so Will adopted him. The revelation devastates Caesar, as all these years he had been kept in the dark about his true origins. The following day, he is still upset about his mother's passing and his confusing identity. While having breakfast, he notices Charles using the wrong side of a fork to eat, so he gently corrects it. Seeing this, Will suspects that his father's illness is resurfacing. He later conducts a few tests at Genesis and discovers that Charles's immune system has developed antibodies and become resistant to the ALZ-112 drug. This leaves Will in utter shock, as he realizes his father doesn't have much time left. Meanwhile, Charles wanders off outside the house and gets into Hunsaker's parked car. In his disoriented state, he tries to drive, but accidentally ends up crashing into the other cars. When Hunsaker learns of this, he angrily shows up and yanks Charles out of the vehicle. Caesar witnesses everything from his window, making him increasingly aggressive. When he can't bear the sight anymore, he rushes out of the house and violently attacks Hunsaker. The poor guy tries to run away, but Caesar knocks him down and bites off one of his fingers. He soon realizes what he has done, but it's too late, as several neighbors have witnessed the incident. In the aftermath, Caesar is taken to an ape sanctuary, which is run by a shady-looking man named John Landon. Will is a bit worried as his son has never been away from home, but John is certain that Caesar will thrive in the company of other chimpanzees. With this assurance, Will reluctantly bids Caesar goodbye, promising to be back soon. This is reminiscent of when Ash let Pikachu go free in the woods, a scene that made me cry so hard when I was a child that I never truly recovered. On the other hand, Charles's health continues to decline as his immune system rejects ALZ-112. Desperate for a cure, Will approaches Jacobs and shares details of the experiment involving his father. He explains that the drug has the potential to enhance cognitive ability, but its effects on the disease are not long-lasting. Therefore, he has modified the virus strain to be more potent and effective. Jacobs is impressed by the research, so he grants permission to resume animal trials in the facility. You just broke so many laws. Here's your reward. Back at the sanctuary, Caesar struggles to adjust to the new environment. The caretaker Dodge also gives him a hard time by continuously tormenting him. One day, Caesar nervously approaches the other apes when he is released into the common play area. However, Rocket, the alpha ape, tears off his clothes to assert dominance.
We get naked in this place.
And then violently attacks him. In the meantime, Genesis brings in more apes from the sanctuary for testing the new and improved ALZ-113. Will takes charge of the project and chooses a chimpanzee named Koba as his first subject. That night, he steals the new medication from the lab and brings it home to treat his father. However, Charles refuses the treatment and tragically passes away in his sleep. At the sanctuary, Caesar befriends a female orangutan named Maurice. The two quickly bond over the fact that they both know sign language. Later that night, Dodge brings a few friends into the sanctuary and leads them to the cage section. One of the friends taunts Caesar, but the latter gets enraged and grabs him by the throat.
Let's see you taunt me now, you bitch.
He then cleverly steals his pocket knife before releasing him. Later, Caesar crafts a small weapon using sticks and the stolen knife. He then unlocks his cage to enter the common play area. After this, he frees a massive gorilla named Buck from his cage, earning his trust. For the next part of his plan, Caesar lures Rocket out into the common play area and swiftly knocks him down. When the cocky ape sees Buck and Caesar united, he immediately surrenders and bows down to Caesar, acknowledging him as the new alpha of the sanctuary. Meanwhile, Franklin begins to experience nosebleeds after accidentally being exposed to ALZ-113. During testing, he rushes to warn Will at his home, but is unable to reach him. As Franklin leaves, he encounters Hunsaker and accidentally sneezes on him, transmitting the virus virus. This whole town's gonna be flinging poo in no time. Elsewhere, Caesar takes note of the access code for the entrance and uses it to escape from the sanctuary that night. He goes straight home and finds Will sleeping with Caroline.
Nicely done, Will.
But instead of waking him up, he opens the fridge and grabs some canisters of the ALZ-113 drug. After this, Caesar brings them back to the sanctuary and releases the gas, hoping to enhance the intelligence of all the other apes. The following day, John notices the apes gathered for a discussion, but they quickly scatter upon seeing him. Later that night, all the apes return to their cages except Caesar. Dodge approaches him in the common area and tries to force him back inside using a stun gun. However, Caesar shouts,
No!
and knocks him unconscious before dragging him into the cage section. He then frees the other apes from their cages and riles them up. Hearing the commotion, another caretaker rushes to intervene, but the apes violently attack him. However, Caesar stops his companions and locks the man in a cage out of mercy. He instead goes to confront Dodge and uses a fire hose to spray him. Unfortunately, the water comes in contact with Dodge's stun gun, causing him to die by electrocution. After this, the angry apes flee from the sanctuary and make their way towards the city. The next morning, Will drives to the sanctuary only to find it in complete ruins. All the apes are missing, and he discovers empty ALZ-113 canisters in the cage sections. Meanwhile, the rampant apes are divided into two groups. The first one, led by Buck, heads to the zoo to release the caged apes, while Caesar leads the other one to invade Genesis. In the next scene, when Jacobs arrives at Genesis, he is shocked to discover himself surrounded by hundreds of apes. They have also freed the other chimps, which were brought in as ALZ-113 test subjects. Terrified, Jacobs calls law enforcement and quickly boards a police chopper to escape. After a while, the two groups of apes reunite and form one massive collective.
Yeah, Ape Nation, baby.
As they wreak havoc throughout the city, the army and special officers are dispatched by the government. Will knows that Caesar is leading the group towards the redwood forest, so he rushes to confront him. Meanwhile, the Golden Gate Bridge, which connects the city to the forest, is heavily barricaded with police officers. They have been ordered to eliminate the crazy apes on the spot. However, Caesar once again shows his exceptional intelligence by instructing his friends to divide. One group climbs the suspension cables, while another swings from underneath the structure to avoid the blockade. In the midst of this, Jacobs exposes Caesar as the leader of the group and commands the soldiers kill him. But just when they open fire, Buck leaps into the air, blocking all the shots. He then heroically takes down the helicopter before succumbing to his injuries. As the chopper crashes to the ground, Jacobs finds himself desperately clinging onto the edge. He pleads with Caesar for help, but the latter instead allows Koba to take matters into his own hands. Koba then pushes the helicopter off the bridge, causing Jacobs to plunge into the ocean below. Following this, the apes make their way into the redwood forest, returning to their natural habitat. Will also somehow manages to get past the blockade and arrive at the forest. He finally reunites with his long-lost son and asks him to come home. However, Caesar, who can now speak like a human, replies,
I am home.
This shocks Will, but he also understands that his favorite ape no longer wants to stay confined inside a home. Therefore, he gives Caesar his blessing to start his own tribe here in the forest. In the final scene, we see Hunziker starting his shift as a pilot at the San Francisco International Airport. Before boarding the plane, he notices his nose bleeding, but quickly brushes it off. The movie comes to an end as the departure board displays several destinations, indicating that the ALZ-113 virus is about to spread worldwide. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.